today's video, we are going to be covering, should I rent? Should I buy? Oh my days, what should I be doing? Well, I'm going to share with you perspectives from a numbers point of view and from a property investing point of view of how you could potentially make this decision for where you are. So I trust that if you stand till the end of this video, you'd be able to apply one of the two different things that I would like to table today. So welcome to my channel. My name is Genevieve Stafford-Jack. You see, before we get into these 2 points, I was in a conversation about renting and buying, and these are the 2 comments that I would like to bring out from this conversation. Comment number 1 went something like this. When I sat in my home that I lived in for just over 2 years, without a landlord telling me that I can't paint my kids' room, I can't change the ugly tiles in the bathroom, he'll fix the mold, probably sometime soon I must just open the windows for the smell to go away. And this is when she said to me, you know what, Jen, if there's anything that clicked to me was that at that point I understood the value of owning my home versus how much it costs to me. And I was like, wow, that's something deep to consider, right? The second comment in this conversation was also, we also have to take into consideration the fact that the cost of rent increases drastically over time. The cost of our bond, our mortgage, will remain the same for the next 20 years or 30 years, depending on your term period, versus rent. Rent is always incrementing. So in this conversation that I had about renting versus buying, these are the things that came up. One person was about the numbers and one person was about the emotions, and also just part of, oh, I'm finally in my own home. So in today's video, I would like to unpack 2 things. The first thing is, when I was researching for this particular video, I wanted to bring you something a lot more solid than just my own thinking and just my own experience. Where I value that, I also wanted to go a little bit further. And this is what I've come up with. There's something that they call the 5% rule. Now, when I listened to that video, I'll drop the link in the description. It was quite technical, and I'm like, I'm not even about to pull off that stuff, right? So that's why you can go into the description after this video to listen to the technicality behind the 5% rule. And here's how you would apply the 5% rule. If I decided to go with the renting option, what if my rent on a monthly basis is 5,000 Rand? I've got a 1-year lease, so which then means 5,000 over 12 months. So if I say 5,000 times 12, it will give me a grand total of 60,000 Rand. And this is where the 5% rule kicks in. If I go and I say 60,000 divided by 5%, this will give me a total of 1.2 million Rand. Now, in the journey of renting and buying, we need to consider something. Before we use these numbers that I've just used, right? We need to consider, are we comparing apples with apples? So if I've decided to go into area X to look for a 3-bed, 1 bath for renting, I should also go into the very same area and look at a 3-bed, 1 bath, how much it would cost me. Okay? And this is where we start matching apples with apples, because over a period of 1 year, my rental will be 60,000, and I may feel like I've just blown it up in smoke because all I've just done is secure a place to live for the next 30 days times 12, and I paid 5,000 for this. Whereas if we take this 5% rule, that left us with 1.2 million. In the same area, are the houses valued at 1.2 million? If the answer is yes, then the obvious thing in that area is to continue renting, because the 5,000 Rand from this, of the rent will not cover a bond repayment to a property that is valued at 1.2 million. So you'll be left with a big discrepancy. However, if you say in that same area, it does go for 1.2 million, Now, this is where I want to kick in with rule number 2, or like point number 2, right? I want to kick in with point number 2. What if in that same area you decide from a property investing point of view, I know that my 5,000 rent will not cover the bond repayments and everything that goes into owning a house. What if, just what if, I decide I'm going to go into this particular area, the 3-bed, 1-bath, and I'm going to drive around in that neighborhood. And what if I spot the ugliest house on the best street? Meaning, when we say ugly, potentially the grass is growing high, the windows are broken, there's newspaper on the windows, and it's not really looking very good. And if you do all your calculations and your analysis from a property investing point of view, and you make an offer to the person that owns this particular property, right, and everything goes through and you're well on your way to renovating and going to the bank with it, you may say to me, but you know what, Jen, there's a lot of pain that I've just gone through in renovating and doing all the things that I needed to do. What do I do in this 3-bed, 1-bath? I would then say to you, would you then consider staying in one room and renting out the other 2 rooms to 2 other professionals? Looking at what the rent goes for in that particular area, literally making the repayment of your bond and where you got all your costs from to close this property investing opportunity. Your 2 people will be paying you, and you may just say, well, I would have been paying 5,000 rent anyway. And that's not the way renting works. I mean, property investing works. But I'm just throwing it in for good measure, for something to think about, okay? And here you are, a young professional with 2 other young professionals in the home. You are living in your own room, your own house. You're collecting rent from your own house. And you may just say, I would have been paying this 5,000. So instead of paying the 5,000, or instead of spending the money, I'll still pay the 5,000 so that I can bring my bond costs down drastically and I could pay off my bond faster. It's a thought to consider. And I would say, why not try something that is quite hairy and quite audacious? Because in renting and buying, it's not always straightforward. You know, one person will, like they said in the comments, over a period of 20 years or 30 years, you'll still be paying rent and it will increment. And at the end of it, you really would have nothing to show for it. But at the end of a 20-year bond or a 30-year bond, you could have had equity. And from that particular equity, you could start off your property investing portfolio. And this is why I thought, to all the videos that are showing about renting and buying, we always look at it from the very conventional point of view of renting. But what if we look at it from the point of view of, I'm a property investor, I want to stay in the given area. What if I just decide for a period of time, I'm going to rent this property out? Because nothing stops you from moving somewhere else over a period of time, or if your job calls you elsewhere, to rent out the 3rd room and life continues. Just imagine this for a moment. You say to your 2 flatmates rather, you say to your 2 flatmates, housemates, well, I am going to live in a different city. I want you guys to continue on this role with me. And when we interview the 3rd person to come and stay in what it was, my room, I want you to be involved in the interview process, and you make it something very community, something communal, so that over a period of time, your tenants even have this respect for, like, this person could have just bounced without considering me. They could have just, done their own thing, but they considered my emotions. And guess what? Here in your 3-bed, 1-bath, that is now on market value because you've renovated it to now 1.2 million. There are 3 people paying your bond, right? And because you've been staying there previously, you decided your 5,000 that you would have paid for rent anyway, you're going to throw it into your bond, which then drastically brings your bond period to a shorter period, right? And you start considering, what are all these other things that I could get from renting? But the bottom line is, depending on where you are, where your emotions are sitting, you could then want to use the 5% rule that I learned from the video in the description and a lot of other videos. I just put the video in the description that really made a lot more technical sense, even though it's out of South Africa, but a lot of technical sense behind that 5%. Or you could say, you know what, I want to try the roots of property investing. I want to go and look for that ugly duckling. I want to go and look for that not so attractive house on the best street so that I could maybe go about doing it in this particular way. And if you find yourself interested in property investing, I want to say in my description, there is a 3-hour-long property investing course. It is for free. We did it at the beginning of COVID-19 lockdown in South Africa. So it says fresh as March 2020 and the rules still apply. So I want to say, if you enjoyed this video and you're still here, I know you're serious about your journey. I'd like you to smash on the like button, and for the fact that you are still here, I want you to have a look at the playlist that I have created just for you about getting started in property investing, and let's see where that can take you.